I never expected my peaceful suburban life to turn into a full-blown HOA nightmare. Karen threw a can of spray paint at my head in the crowded Home Depot aisle. The chaos started right after I moved into Oakwood Estates 6 months ago. I was just an ordinary guy seeking some tranquility away from the bustling city life. The neighborhood looked perfect with its manicured lawns and matching house colors. Karen, as the HOA president, took her role very seriously from the beginning. Her first official letter complained about my lawn being a quarter-inch too long. I rushed out and mowed it perfectly the very next morning without complaint. Then another notice arrived about my mailbox paint not matching the approved shade exactly. I bought the right color and repainted it that same weekend to keep peace. But Karen continued with her endless stream of petty and unnecessary demands. She knocked on my door unannounced one evening, holding her trusty clipboard tightly. "The welcome mat on your porch does not fit the community aesthetic," she declared haughtily. I forced a polite smile while feeling my blood pressure rise internally. The neighborhood rumors began spreading like wildfire through the community Facebook group soon after. People started avoiding me and whispering behind my back in the local park. I overheard comments calling me the guy who hates following simple rules. I knew Karen was the source of all these damaging and false stories. The stress built up slowly, making everyday tasks feel like walking on eggshells constantly. My heart would race whenever I spotted her car cruising down my street slowly. I started saving every email and screenshot as proof of her ongoing harassment campaign. The air smelled fresh with cut grass on the day I headed to the store for supplies. I entered the bustling Home Depot feeling relaxed amid the weekend shopping crowd. Fluorescent lights buzzed loudly overhead as I pushed my cart through the wide aisles. The earthy aroma of potting soil and flowers filled the garden section pleasantly. Suddenly Karen emerged from behind a tall rack of flowering plants with fury in her eyes. She charged toward me, pointing an accusing finger in my direction aggressively. "You cannot buy that mulch because it breaks the store rules for our community," she shouted. I stared at her in complete disbelief at the absurdity of her claim. This was a public retail store not subject to any HOA regulations whatsoever. I replied in a calm and measured tone, trying not to cause a scene. "Karen, this is Home Depot and they sell products to all customers freely." Her face flushed bright red with rage as more shoppers stopped to watch the drama unfold. She moved closer, invading my personal space with her escalating shrill voice. "You are destroying our community standards and I will not tolerate your defiance anymore," she screamed. My pulse quickened noticeably, but I maintained my composure, refusing to engage further. That was the precise moment when her control finally snapped in spectacular fashion. Karen snatched a large can of bright red spray paint from the display shelf nearby. She drew back her arm with surprising force and launched it straight toward my head. I ducked quickly as the can flew past and smashed loudly into the metal shelving unit. Red paint exploded everywhere, creating a chaotic mess on the store floor. Larry, the experienced security guard who also resided in our neighborhood, rushed over immediately. He firmly grabbed Karen by the arm and began escorting her toward the exit doors. "Ma'am, you must leave the store right now for causing this disturbance," he commanded sternly. Karen struggled violently against his grip while continuing to scream at the top of her lungs. "He attacked me first and he is a threat to everyone. Call the police now," she wailed. She dialed 911 on her phone even as Larry dragged her out into the parking lot. I pulled out my phone and began recording the entire confrontation for my own protection. I had been documenting her behavior secretly for weeks in anticipation of something like this. The store's security cameras had also captured the whole incident from multiple angles perfectly. Police officers arrived on the scene shortly after her hysterical emergency call. They interviewed both of us separately while Larry provided his unbiased eyewitness testimony. After viewing my clear video evidence, the officers sided against Karen without hesitation. "You initiated the physical assault, ma'am, and we are issuing you a formal warning," they said. Karen protested loudly but eventually left the area under police supervision. However, she refused to accept defeat and called an emergency HOA board meeting the next day. At the community center, she stood before the board and accused me of provoking the attack. The members listened carefully as she twisted the facts to paint herself as the victim. I arrived at the meeting well prepared with a comprehensive folder of all my collected evidence. Larry sat among the board as the treasurer, and he appeared uneasy with her narrative. I played the full store security video for the entire group to witness firsthand. The room fell completely silent as they watched her throw the can in unprovoked rage. Gasps of surprise echoed through the space at the undeniable visual proof. I then presented printouts of all her prior complaints and inflammatory social media posts. My voice stayed steady and logical throughout as I outlined her pattern of abuse. Karen has repeatedly misused her position to harass and intimidate residents unfairly, I explained. Larry stepped forward and corroborated my account based on his direct observation at the store. He also mentioned her previous attempts to dictate policies at local businesses. Karen then made her biggest mistake by pulling out her phone to show supporting evidence. She displayed an email demanding the store only carry HOA-approved items for residents. The board members reacted with visible shock at this clear overreach of her authority. I calmly highlighted how this action violated the HOA bylaws and broader legal standards. The discussion among the board grew intense as long-suppressed frustrations surfaced openly. Members began sharing their own stories of her controlling and unreasonable behavior over time. The vote to remove her was called, and it passed unanimously in a landslide decision. Karen's expression turned ghostly pale as the weight of her removal sank in deeply. She collected her belongings in silence and stormed out of the room in humiliation. The atmosphere inside the community center lightened immediately with a collective sigh of relief. Several neighbors came up to me afterward offering sincere apologies for believing the rumors. Larry shook my hand firmly and expressed his appreciation for my courage in the matter. Life in the neighborhood returned to a state of genuine peace and normalcy almost instantly. No more surprise inspections or baseless fines landed in mailboxes across the subdivision. Residents began waving and engaging in friendly conversations without any underlying fear. I relaxed on my front porch the following weekend, savoring the warm morning sunlight. Birds sang cheerfully in the trees lining the peaceful suburban street below. A soft breeze carried the sweet scent of blooming flowers from nearby gardens. I reflected quietly on how one absurd incident had dismantled her entire power structure. Karen's reign of petty tyranny had collapsed under the pressure of her own actions. It felt deeply satisfying to witness justice delivered so swiftly and completely. Yet the experience also highlighted the importance of accountability in community leadership roles. I sipped my coffee slowly and allowed a small ironic smile to cross my face. In the end, the neighborhood thrived once free from her toxic influence and control. Small-scale power always corrupts, but evidence and logic can restore balance effectively. That thrown object in the store ironically became the catalyst for much-needed change. And our suburb has never been more harmonious since that memorable day.